Hello, friend. I'm Marcy Farrell from ThankfulHomemaker.com, and I'm so glad to get a few moments of your day today. Today's video is titled 10 Simple Steps for Beginning Homemakers, although you don't have to be a beginning homemaker to watch this one, so I pray you'll stick with me, even if you've been a homemaker like I have for 35 years or more. So I have recently been a guest on a couple of podcasts. One was the Women's Hope podcast. Both of these I highly recommend, and I'll link to them below the video. One was the Women's Hope podcast, and the other was the Abide podcast. And this topic of building up our homes and being keepers of our homes has been a topic of discussion. So I want to share some important thoughts before I move forward on this it's a little more of a practical episode for me. And these were some thoughts that I shared with Natalie and Katie from the Abide podcast. And I highly recommend you subscribe, listen to them. You're going to be encouraged and edified by these two godly young women. I will link to that episode I did with them. They titled it Wise Builders and Wrecking Balls, Part 3. I love their titles. They are so creative. And I laugh because I'm not creative with my titles. So you kind of get what you get here with me. But a question they started off asking was, why is a woman building up the home important? And Proverbs 14:1 is where our minds usually go when we hear that question of building up our homes, right? The wisest of women builds her house, but with folly, with her own hands, tears it down. And the answer that I shared with them was quite simple, because the honor of God's name is at stake. When we look at Proverbs 14:1, it tells us that wisdom builds. So a godly, wise woman will consider how to make her home better, and she looks after the home she builds. Our Christian homes are to be places where God's love is evident, where the gospel is not just spoken but lived out, and we're to bring honor and glory to God in all aspects of the care of our homes. Our homes should be places of comfort and shelter. And one of my favorite reminders when I say that is, we find as believers our shelter and comfort in God, and we make our home in Him when we come to faith in Jesus. We should desire to make His love evident within our own families and to all those who enter our homes. So from the normal everyday tasks of cooking and cleaning to bringing up our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, to loving our husbands and being keepers of our homes. In all these various areas of, quote, building up our homes, a wise woman would build her home on God's word. She would know it and she would apply it to every aspect of her home life. The concerning issue is when we look at the other side of Proverbs 14:1, right? But folly with her own hands tears it down. This proverb is giving us a pretty vivid picture of living two ways. We're either building up or we're tearing down. There's no neutral ground here, right? And coming back to that original question that started me off on this was, why is it important to build up our homes? This isn't just focusing in on the physical blessings. These are good things, and the upkeep and care of our homes matters. But its importance comes as we seek to cultivate homes where everything is based on the Word of God and that we reflect Christ-likeness in our homes. I'm not talking perfection. We're all works in progress, but we are headed in the direction of desiring to respond in ways that reflect the Lord to our families. We desire to do battle with sin in our lives. We want to keep killing sin, as John Owen stated, or it's going to be killing you. We want to know God's word and not just know it, but we want to pray for His strength worked out in us to apply it. Things here like the things we deal with daily as wives and mothers, things, friend, like our attitudes and our responses, how we show love towards one another, offering forgiveness, offering much grace to one another, right? We've been shown much grace by God. We need to offer much grace to others, showing mercy. When these are grounded in and based on the truths of God's word, our homes are going to be places of life-giving. They're going to build relationships within the family structure. They're going to point others to joy found in knowing and loving and serving Jesus. And the flip side of this one is, if we're not building up our homes in this way, then we're probably tearing our homes down by our sinful actions and words. The life's going to be sucked out of our family, and instead of building good relationships and pointing our children and our spouse to Christ, our homes are going to be places of destruction. So the questions that should be in our hearts and minds as homemakers, wives, and mothers is, how am I glorifying God as I care for my family? How am I pointing them to Christ? Am I spending time with the Lord daily? Because if I'm neglecting the spiritual disciplines in my life, I have nothing to offer my family, and I probably won't be pointing them to Christ. This is key. And I know days are busy, but we need to be women of the word. Think things here like, am I verbally sharing the gospel with my children? And is God's work in my life evident to them? As homemakers, we've been given by the Lord a huge responsibility to point them to Christ. This is the best way to build up our homes, and it's the foundation that we want to build on. And I really wanted you to hear this before I do get into this between this more practical episode. Because the reality is our days are lived in the ordinary tasks that we deal with as wives and mothers and homemakers. It doesn't matter whether you work full-time, outside the home, inside the home, whatever you do there. Titus 2 is calling us to be keepers of our homes, and we're to be good managers of the homes and families the Lord has entrusted us to. So my hope is here today is to encourage some of you homemakers who maybe you feel overwhelmed or you're not sure where to begin when it comes to the care of your home. I'm still a learner, even after 35 years, and I hope that you will always consider yourself learners too. But what I'm sharing with you today are just tasks and routines that have worked well for me over the years. So don't feel you need to put into place every single one of these, but maybe my hope here is maybe you just gain a tip or two, or maybe it just encourages you a little bit to get motivated in your homemaking, because we still need the practical, right? We still need to be taught how to do things and encouraged and motivated. And on most of these I'm sharing today, I have longer episodes working through them because I'm just covering each section pretty quickly today. And where that happens, I'll link to those where I've done that for you. And I'll put them in the main show notes at my blog at thankfulhomemaker.com. So if it's an area you want to dig a little bit deeper, head to the main show notes and you can get some more tips there and some encouragement. But I do desire that my home would be a sanctuary for my family and really an oasis for others that the Lord sends my way. Again, I'm never talking about perfection. I don't want you guys to ever think that ever with me, but there is just a sense of order, and our home expresses the things that we love. And this is going to look different for each of us, but the reality still stands that we need to have some order. We need to get meals on the table. We need to clean. We need to pay bills. And we need to take care of laundry, right? Along with all the other tasks needed in the care and upkeep of a home. Dorothy Patterson Kelly stated from the Christian Homemaker's Handbook, she said, "A house is the building or structure in which people live. A home is much more the place that is uniquely prepared for you." So we're going to talk about our homes today. And I understand that to some of us, order comes naturally. And then there are some of you out there like me who really have to work at it. I found that I have much more time in the day when I've taken the time to set up a system to keep order, and I'm hoping to encourage you to do the same. These are tips that my grandmother and other family members shared with me or modeled for me when I was a young bride. I was clueless in the kitchen, and I had no idea what it looked like to care for a home and family on my own. My grandmother was a daily phone call for me in those early years of my marriage. I'm so grateful for her. I'm so thankful I had her at that season of my life. So what I'm giving you today are 10 tips, because everybody loves a numbered list, right? And I didn't want to make it too overwhelming, but this list is not exhaustive. And your top 10 list may look totally different than mine, and that's okay. These are just areas that I personally felt were important to begin with. So if you feel comfortable and you'd like to, share in the comments what some of your favorite tips would be, because people read those comments and they glean from you guys. So please do that. I would love you to do that. So I'm going to be kind of quick and to the point here. I know y'all are busy, so we're just going to get at it here. So number one, make your bed every day, right? A simple 2-minute or less task that gets you started in a good direction. It instantly makes your room look cleaner. Teach your kiddos to make their beds too. Your kids, and don't fix them. So when your kids make the bed, leave it. No correcting, no fixing. Got it? All right? And also, I used to change sheets, my bed sheets, once a week. And if you've watched my weekly home blessing, you've kind of heard that already. But now I do it every 2 weeks because we shower every day. Hopefully that doesn't gross anybody out. But I always think that 1 week rule, I wonder if that came about in the days of my grandmother when it was a little harder to wash clothes than it is today. But my other tip here in making your bed is I have a couple sets of sheets for my bed. I have like our lighter weight ones and then our heavier winter ones because I'm in Wisconsin. But most times I just wash the sheets and put them back on the bed so I don't have to deal with folding anything. I'm sort of a, I don't want to call myself a lazy homemaker, but I find I'm a cheater. I like to find good cheats that help me to get things done a little more efficiently. So, and usually making my bed for me is part of my daily morning routine. And you all know about my daily morning routine. I actually have a video here called Implementing a Realistic Morning Routine. So check that one out. I'm sorry, my nose is a little itchy there. Number two is tidy. This seems so basic, but it can be so neglected at times. Take the time at least a couple times a day, for sure at least once a day, right? Maybe you do it after or before every meal or after dinner or before you get ready for bed, but get the help of your kiddos and your hubby and pick up around the house. Put things back where they belong, right? If they don't have a home, find one for them. That instantly makes your house look clean. Remember, you can't organize clutter, all right? Clutter begins when things don't have a place. So if you're finding that something is just doesn't have a home, figure out a home for it where it should go and make a home there for it. But again, quick pickup, just once or twice a day. Number 3, get dressed. I wrote a whole blog post on this one. As a young mama who stayed home with her babies, this one was a challenge for me on many days. But my whole day went better when I got dressed first thing in the morning and I got my kiddos dressed. That we were just ready if somebody came to the door unexpectedly or I needed to run out for an errand, I was ready to go. Number 4, put together a cleaning routine for your home. My young mamas and us old ones too, this is a huge help. And I want to share simply what I do on most weeks. I call it my favorite cleaning tip. If I see something that needs attention or cleaned and I have the time to do it at that moment, I clean it. Like an example, so I'm sitting in my kitchen. I'm trying to think what you can see behind me because I'm not looking at the video, but there's a cupboard here behind me. If I'm sitting here or I'm having a cup of coffee during breakfast and I look and I'm like, well, there's dust on that cupboard and I have a moment, all I would do is wipe that dust off. It's obviously bothering me that I noticed it, so I would just do it if I have time to do it. Just things like that. Or I don't even know, you're in the bathroom and you see the bathroom counter needs tidied, just do it if you have time to do it. But I'm going to give you a really quick overview of my cleaning schedule. This does not work out every week for me, and I have a whole post on this. I actually have a podcast on this one. But if I'm doing this most weeks, it still gives my home a semblance of order and tidiness, all right? So most Mondays, I do what I call my weekly home blessing, and I'll link, there's that video to that one. I'll try to remember to link to that below. If not, it's on the main post. That's a fly lady term. All this means for me is every Monday morning, doesn't have to be Monday, could be whatever day you choose, but for me it's Monday. Each room gets a quick feather dust, it gets tidied, it gets a vacuum in the traffic areas. It's a quick routine, takes me about an hour or less. I love that duster attachment on my vacuum. I use that a lot. I probably use that more than a feather duster at times. I do love microfiber cloths too though. But I have a YouTube video on that weekly home blessing, obviously that goes more deeper than what I'm sharing there. And then from there, each day, I tackle what I see needs dusted a bit more or may need my attention. Maybe a floor needs mopped, or I notice baseboards in a certain room need attention. I may see fingerprints on windows or doors or switch plates to wipe. Do my appliances need a good exterior or interior cleaning? I devote an hour or less, and most days it's much less, to home care and cleaning, okay? It may be more on some days when I have time and I need to tackle a larger project, but it does not absorb my whole day. So my week is broken to different days. So Monday would be my bedrooms, and Tuesday would be my kitchen and my laundry room, and Wednesday would be my husband's office. I'm doing this from memory. And then Thursday would be like my family room and my living room and dining room. They're not too busy of rooms. So basically, when it's that day of the week for those rooms, that's what I'm saying. In that room, I'll see what needs attention. That means the room usually gets a dust and a vacuum, and it'll get whatever else I may have time for that day. I may not have time except to give it a dust and a vacuum. And if I did my weekly home blessing and it looks pretty good, I may skip that. So I'm just saying, between tidying and just keeping up with it weekly, my home does not take a long time to maintain. And the big one has been for me to keep decluttering and finding homes for things, making sure that things can be put away, because usually the problem comes about when we have clutter, and then that tends to build and we get overwhelmed and we don't know where to begin. And I do have I have a video here on decluttering that I will try to remember to link to too, but you can search it in my videos. So I have favorite sheets. I do like to use Swiffer cloths and paper towels and spray cleaner at times. I know it's not the most green method, so if you're like a crunchy green mama, cover your ears there, but it's a help if it's one your budget can afford. I love Swiffer cloths, the dry ones in my bathroom. I just put them on that mop handle to pick up hair quickly without having to grab the vacuum out. I like to do that. I make sure to notice areas that need tidied and decluttered a bit. Things from my house are things like where the mail comes in, like my magazine basket where I keep magazines or reading materials that we get in the mail. My kitchen desk area and my book areas where I study and do my prep time for things like the blog. That tends to get pretty cluttered, my Bible study area. So those usually need my most attention. My bathrooms are cleaned a bit more deep on a weekly basis, and usually I'll do it when I'm already in there. So bathing your kiddos is a great time to clean their bathroom. And I also have a quick 5-minute bathroom cleaning that I do every day. It makes my deep cleaning so much easier, and the bathroom always looks great for the next person who uses it. Now that is linked in the main show notes too. So that's a quick, easy one. But my 5-minute bathroom cleanup is one I do pretty much do every day after I shower. So number 5 is budget and finances. Okay, this is not my favorite one or one that I feel have the most expertise to share with you, but I've learned it out of necessity because it's something we all have to deal with. My best advice is to put together a simple filing system for your home. I have a simple post on this one and make it really simple to use. And actually, let me go over my filing system. So I have in my husband's offices where I usually pay our bills and stuff. And I am very simple because we don't have the paperwork we used to have because there's so much done online. So my filing system, and I may miss something, I'm doing this from memory, is our long-term file, with things, if we've added on to the home or done some large projects, I kind of keep my long-term home file with those types of things in it, the receipts. And then I have a file for our insurance papers. And then I just keep one file for papers for the whole year. Freaks people out. I don't organize it into folders. I throw everything in that file because I know if I need to find something, it'll only take me a couple minutes to find it and look through it. And usually most years I've never had to do that. So it's kind of a good way to do it. And then I have a file for a folder for our taxes for the year. So basically the mail comes in, I pay bills, the receipts go in that yearly file. Anything related to taxes goes in the tax folder, insurance related in the insurance file for the year. And then I do have our folder with our insurance policies, the actual policies themselves. And then just the long-term file. We do have a safe in the basement that we keep where we keep, our taxes and things like that, and marriage certificates, all that sort of important stuff kind of goes in that safe. And then we just kind of keep that file for the time period I need, and our accountant tells us to hold it for 7 years. So you need to check with your own accountant or financial advisor on that. But we keep our files for 7 years, and then after that, I take it to a place, it gets shredded, I'm done. So I'm keeping to rotating them out. It's simplified my system. So, all right, that was my filing system. I don't know that helped you a lot, but I do have a post on that kind of goes through it a little more that I linked to. But then the other one is paying your bills. So figure out a system to pay your bills. Either you're going to pay them when they come in, or maybe you have certain days marked on your calendars to do it. Utilize online banking if you're comfortable to do that. I have really embraced online banking, and I love how it simplifies my time in this because I can just schedule things to be paid and I don't have to even deal with it. It just happens. And as for budgeting, there's tons of great apps out there, but we are basically pen and paper kinds of people. And a really good eye-opener for me was to track my spending for a couple months as we were adjusting our budget. It seems backward, but for me, then I could lay out and see areas where money's being spent that could be eliminated, or maybe I didn't even realize how much I was spending in that area. So it was kind of good to see it that way. And I do want to share with you, my husband and I have been married for over 35 years. We don't have a mortgage anymore. So our I don't want to say I don't have a budget, but I don't technically. It's the two of us. So my bills and things aren't a lot. So I'm definitely in a different season right now. But this is an area that if you could go over with your husband and sit together, if you don't, would be huge. I just think that's really important. We're big Dave Ramsey fans for that, but really the reality is knowing where your money goes is a good place to start. And I think of things like paying attention to subscriptions you have. You can spend money so much easier without realizing it with things like your cell phone and the computer subscribing to things that you don't even use. So just keep track of that. And there's even apps that will help you to determine what you're subscribed to so you don't, you know what you're paying. So there's a lot of financial apps to do that. I want to think one is called Albert. I think there's one called Truebill. But Dave Ramsey has an Every Dollar app that's great for budgeting if you're an app person. But pen and paper is good. So it's a great place to start just tracking your monthly spending for a couple months. If you're doing nothing, that's a great place to start. Okay, number 6. We're already on number 6. Cleaning was the long one, so don't freak out. And that finances was a little longer than I had. I definitely added a little more to that. Number 6, tackle laundry. If you have the need to do a load or two a day, then just do it. It doesn't really take that long to do a load of laundry from start to finish. And my start to finish is wash, dry, fold, and put away, okay? That's doing a whole load of laundry. Take the time to organize and set up your laundry areas so it's efficient and you have everything you need. And it's like pleasant to work there. I always think that through. I love that. I love to listen to podcasts or put some music on while I'm folding laundry or ironing. And yes, I still iron at times. My hubby still has some shirts, some dress shirts that I iron. So I don't have a set laundry day because it is just the two of us now. But usually I'll start a load in the early morning. So I'm usually done with laundry before lunch. And I'm washing towels once or twice a week. I'm washing sheets every other week. I'm dealing with just our normal clothes. So I don't have a lot of laundry. But if you have kiddos at home and they're old enough, teach them how to do laundry. It's a skill they need. So don't neglect that. Make sure you teach your kiddos when they're old enough to do their own laundry. That's a great thing. Number 7, have a meal plan. You knew this one was coming. You knew it. I couldn't get by without my meal plan. It makes my days easier. It keeps us on budget for food, and it helps my leftovers not to go to waste, all right? When I have weeks that I haven't meal planned, it's a disaster. I spend more money running to the store or eating out last minute. Just sit down for whatever that is, 15 to 30 minutes a week and make a meal plan. If you don't know where to start with this. Sit down and write down all your family's favorite dinners. Sit with your family when you're at the dinner table and do it. And just say, hey, can we just take a couple minutes and talk about what are some of our favorite meals to eat? Even better, if you could do that for lunch and dinner, that's a huge help, all right? And then just choose your meals from those lists. And you can, if you want to broaden your cooking skills or whatever, try to add in one new meal a week. Go that way. If you're new to cooking, don't beat yourself up, okay? Keep it simple. When I was a young bride, I really didn't know how to cook. And I did back then, so this would have been the early 80s, mid 80s, I did a lot of box mixes. Like, I don't know what's in that box of au gratin potatoes and that box of Hamburger Helper, but it got me started and it was somewhere to begin. And from there, I got more confident in my cooking skills and branched out and did a lot more cooking from scratch and would try new recipes. But just start, all right? I don't want you to use the excuse that you can't cook or you're not good at cooking. If you don't try and practice, you'll never be good at cooking. It just takes time to learn like anything else does. So there's things like Pinterest. You can find good meal ideas online, some recipes and things. There's a really handy app that I've really enjoyed. I think it's called Paprika, the Paprika app. It's just a great place to store recipes. It works out really handy. And then I have them handy on my phone or my iPad. And 2 of my favorite beginner cookbooks are it's an old one, the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. And then there's another one by Mark Bittman called How to Cook Everything. They're just good basic beginner cookbooks. I love them. I have a lot of posts on meal planning, or check out my complete, simple, ultra affordable menu planning course, and I'll link to it. So if you don't know where to begin, start there and it'll get you menu planning. Okay, number 8, Learn a new skill. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Marcy, seriously? I'm just trying to get dinner on the table. I don't have time to be learning a new skill. Okay, I'm not talking about a class outside your home or taking this long class online, but you might like to. You might like to do that. It may be something as simple as you need to get better at using your crock pot or an Instapot or another appliance that's going to help you get dinner on the table faster. You might want to learn to sew or knit, or maybe you want to learn how to reupholster furniture or make curtains. Starting a blog maybe on your to-do list. Pick something that interests you and learn more about it. It's so easy nowadays with libraries and books and online. We have resources before us. Things like reading books on how to manage my home and time has been a help to me. I love to be a continual learner, with God's word being my top priority. But I also love to learn how to be a better keeper of my home. I mean, is there anybody else out there besides me who reads cookbooks? Yeah, I love getting a new cookbook and skimming through it. I have learned and grown so much in my cooking skills by doing that. Some of my favorite books that have been a help to me in homemaking are The Christian Homemakers Handbook, Becoming a Woman Who Pleases God, and Designing a Lifestyle That Pleases God. And those are all linked in the main post if you want to take a peek. And if you want to dig deeper into Bible study, then do it. Get started on it. So number 9, we're getting there. Last 2 here. Number 9, use routines to start and end your day. This is always one of my top pieces of advice. I have a morning and an evening routine that helps me to start and end my day well. I always share that if I only get those 2 things done, I've already accomplished much in the day, with the morning routine being more the priority there. They are just simple steps to get your day moving forward and end it so you're ready to tackle tomorrow. Simple. These routines change with various seasons of life. You can customize them to fit your needs. We may all have similar elements in them, but you're going to customize it to fit what you do for your life. So we're going to have things like shower and Bible time and exercise. But again, it's going to look all different and be various lengths of time depending on the season that you're in. So I have a video that I shared earlier, but it's called Implementing a Realistic Morning Routine. And then I have a longer podcast that I link to in the main show notes on the routines of the day, if you want to just dig a little deeper there. My current steps to my morning routine are very simply making my bed, time with the Lord, exercise, shower, breakfast, dishes, pets taken care of. I start a little laundry, check my to-do list, take my vitamins, see what's for dinner. And then I determine usually I do my cleaning tasks first before I get to my blogging and my other work stuff in my husband's office. So I kind of try to get everything done before I get to my work in the morning. And my evening routine is very simple. I give the house a quick tidy. I make sure the dishes are done. I'll check and look at my to-do list and usually write it out for that next day. I'll sometimes lay my clothes out for exercise. That helps me to stay motivated. And then I'll read a little bit, journal, and pray, and go to bed. That's it. Maybe you even have an afternoon routine that you can do after lunch. And a routine in the afternoon could be just to sit and read for 15 minutes, or take 5 minutes to tidy the house, or maybe that's the time you pay bills. You're kind of getting the idea here, I think. It's just items you do daily, sort of like habit stacking. They're just habits that build on one another to help you manage your time well and to keep your home running smooth. Number 10, we're at the end here. I love this one. It's kind of a different one, but it's one that I really like. Keep master to-do lists for repeated tasks. Okay, you're like, what is that? So this particular task has simplified my days immensely. And all I mean by it is that I have master lists for various tasks that are repeated in my home. I keep them in my planner, or some are in my, just my notes app on my phone, and they make these tasks automatic for me. So here, some of the lists that I keep are holiday meal menus. I also keep lists for various items we need to purchase, like different sizes, things like if I have weird light bulbs or certain batteries for I think of our car, like our key fobs when the batteries go, or furnace filters or filters for our water system. I just keep that in a home app or a home note in my app so I know the sizes of things. List of our meal ideas. Again, how I talked earlier, all your favorite breakfast, lunches, and dinners, your family favorites. Healthy travel snack ideas. I love that when we're getting ready to go on the road, I could just pop my list and it brings to memory what I like to pack to take. I keep packing lists for travel. I keep one for airplane travel and one for car lists. I love that I could print them out when I'm getting ready to take a trip, so they're there in front of me. My husband and I like to keep shared lists of movies and books and places to go lists that we, just hope to get to one day possibly. We also like to keep meals we would like to try lists. So sometimes if we go out to dinner somewhere and there's some kind of fun food we ate, we're like, oh, we'd love to make this at home. We just keep a shared note with that. I do keep my Christmas gift list and notes so I could see what I've given past years. I keep a master to-do list for our home, kind of like bigger projects we'd like to get to. And then I have my cleaning list in there for daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly tasks. And I keep my morning and evening routines and my weekly home blessing there. So let's go over them really quick. So number 1 was make your bed. Number 2 was your daily tidy. Number 3 was get dressed. Number 4 was have a cleaning routine. Number 5 was dealing with your budget and your finances, getting that in order. Number 6 was laundry. Number 7 was meal plan. Number 8 was be a continual learner. Number 9 was implement routines. And number 10 was keep lists for repeated tasks that you do again and again. So think about that. Is there just one of these you'd like to start as part of your daily routine or more? Or maybe you're already doing some of these and you just needed that little reminder from me why they are so helpful. So my closing thoughts here as we pull this together is I want to be a blessing to my family. And one way I do this is by caring well for my home. The goal for all of us is to make sure that we are attending well to the priorities God has given us. As keepers of our homes, we're to be diligent in the tasks the Lord has set before us. This is your job, my friend. This is what the Lord has called us to do. Do it well, just as you would do any other job outside your home. God is our employer. He's entrusted us to care well for our families, and a part of that is in the way that we care for these dwelling places on this earth that He has gifted us with. So I want to leave you with an anonymous quote that sums this all up beautifully. The beauty of the house is order. The blessing of the house is contentment. The glory of the house is hospitality. The crown of the house is godliness. And now this is look at me. I've been rambling here. And my reminder at the end of that lovely anonymous quote is Jesus is enough always, friends. So again, I'd love you again to share in the comments what you come across. What are some of your top tips for beginning homemakers, or what helped you as a young homemaker? What were some things? So share it with us in the comments. And again, you can find my main show notes at the blog at thankfulhomemaker.com, and it's linked below the video. And if you're enjoying your time here, I'd so appreciate if you give the video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't yet. I would love that. And I'm just so grateful for you and your time today, my friend. And I do pray you have a very blessed week.